I use HomeFi Internet, and before that, I was using some of the other local internet providers that are um, established in your residence via landlines. This is the first time I'm using an internet provider that uses um, mobile data. Um, I have what's called a hotspot, and it's about the size of a hockey puck, and it's pretty neat. I'm really happy with the technology. When I first started using it, it was excellent. Um, Now, however, I can't even load pages. Um, what a, I don't know what exactly is going on in my life in regard to its interaction with society, because the internet connections I have had in the past, including the one that I'm using now, have all at times been mysteriously shut off. And it's always happened at times that I'm on Facebook and making posts that someone I suspect might consider inappropriate. There was once I posted the words, "There's more than corn in Ileana." Ileana is a Hebrew word that means the light of God. And I don't know if someone didn't know that or if they did know that and they didn't like it, but someone marked that as inappropriate on Facebook. That's the kind of reaction I've been getting since I've moved out of the city into the country to where I live now. And I've had people, move things on my front porch. They've actually come here and taken the locks off my door while I was sleeping. The landlord has come in here before a number of times, a whole bunch of times while I'm home, and he comes and peeks around the corner of my bedroom to see if I'm awake or not. And all this stuff has been happening, which, of course, makes me suspicious of other things that might occur when they happen too. And this whole debacle with the internet is just a scandal. And I've been paying over $100 a month for internet service that hardly works at times and is shut off completely when I make comments that people don't approve of. In addition to that Ileana post I made, I once stated that it's my theory that if the World War II tyrant and dictator Adolf Hitler had been recognized as an artist before his career in the military began, World War II probably never would have occurred. Um, and it's funny, I stated that, and shortly after I started posting all my art, and that's when people started to ignore me, I guess, more blatantly than they had been before, because now it seems like I'm totally outcasted from the social network society. After I made that comment about Hitler, or that post, I mean, that I put on my timeline, my internet was shut off. It was off for 2 weeks. They shut off my internet for 2 weeks after I made that post. 2 weeks I didn't have internet after making that post. Um, I don't remember what I did. I think I switched providers or something. There was a time I even had two internet providers at the same time working simultaneously, just so I can avoid this kind of thing as it happened. And the reason I'm posting this now is because I'm looking at this website that I'm interested in about vegan living, and um, there's some stuff on here that um, I think might pertain to um, my lifestyle as a as a person who's recovering from cancer. I use cannabis, and some of those products are on here somewhere in this website, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. But um, they've blocked my mail. They've they've intercepted deliveries that included legal cannabinoid products and have sent them back to the manufacturers or the shippers. They've also um, like damaged my mail. At times, I've planned to make reviews of certain products. So once I bought a $9 jar of peanut butter from Amazon that arrived with a cracked lid so that I couldn't use it. I mean, essentially, once I opened it, I had to use the whole thing, otherwise it would go bad. Um, Things get delivered to the wrong house. It's just like nonstop kind of stuff here in this place. And it's so weird. The other day I was in Champaign and I stopped into the downtown part of campus and discovered a bookstore I hadn't been to before. And while I was in there, I remarked to the store owner or clerk how much I enjoyed being there before I left. And I was only there for a few minutes. That same day, I got an email from Ann Arbor, Michigan, where Borders Bookstore was established. Everyone who's a book nerd knows this, inviting me to come live there and use their assistance program that helps people pay their rent and stuff like that who are in situations like me. The very same or next day, that email arrived from Ann Arbor that that I was in the bookshop and I commented on how great I enjoyed being there. The next day, that email arrived, and so is that a coincidence? I don't think so. I mean, there are always coincidences in life that seem like they could be intentional. But who on earth has that power to make those sorts of things happen? I'm not sure. But I don't think that was a coincidence when I received that email yesterday. I emailed Ann Arbor and told them I can't move because I'm living here recovering from cancer, and um and I sent that to them just the other day because there's a time limit on how long you have uh, before the window closes on those types of opportunities. But that puts me right here where I am now today, in this position where I live in fear in Cissna Park because of all of the things that I've mentioned and more. I mean, there's more. I can't even um, count on public transportation because I think they're all tied in with this thing. And the news is talking about Havana syndrome and how Havana syndrome is induced by a quote unquote, as the news called it, Russian ray gun that controls their emotions and feelings and thoughts. And I haven't heard the news talk about it since. That was like 2 months ago. But I'm telling you, this is all tied together. And um, and it's not anything that is new. I actually think that this is ancient technology being used that has probably been in existence since before Egypt, before Noah, well, maybe after Noah. But the point is that there are things occurring uh, that are way beyond my level of intelligence that I'm aware of. And it's caused problems for me. It's caused problems in my life to be aware of this level of intelligence that exists without the authorization that the government wants you to have to obtain it. And I also think that might be why I'm someone of interest to whatever organization this is that's um, surveying me. I'm not a troublemaker. I'm not anyone who um, wants to cause trouble or has been in trouble. I was raised in Chicago. I was a Boy Scout while I was in um, eighth grade and high school. Before that, I was on student council and I was a library aide. Um, I have been performing in theater since I was about 4 years old. Um, when I was in high school, I was awarded an award for acting. So, I mean, I know how to act. I can tell when people are acting, I can spot a liar, and I know how to identify methods of acting. and then after high school, I attended college. I became a special ed aide. I worked with people who were completely dependent on my assistance for 10 years. And um, I was accused of doing all kinds of horrible things in the Chicago public school system. Well, it wasn't the public school system, but it was the Chicago school system. Um, I did work for Chicago public schools, sorta, because I did work for a little while at some magnet type school, and but usually I was working in preschools, and but before that, my career began as a high school aide, and I was also the chess coach at the high school for a number of years that I worked at, and I directed the theater as an assistant to the actual lead director, and I was a union rep that the school district um, sent to Los Angeles to attend a convention. My point is that um, I'm well established in the field that I worked at. I have a good reputation as a hard worker and someone who has a good head on their shoulders, who thinks clearly. I received scholarships through my life, one to attend Illinois Teenage Institute, where I was there for a week and taught leadership skills with a group of about 1,000 other people. And I was also awarded a scholarship so that I could attend Montessori training, where I was instructed by the very same woman who was taught by Dr. Montessori's very own assistant to teach children. And I am here today now to just establish those things so that when I do say something like, hey, my internet's bad, I'm not going to get treated like I'm some sort of um, screwball, because that's the way that I've been treated when I've told people at the internet companies that I've tried working with that the internet is bad. They have treated me like I'm some sort of simpleton who doesn't understand what the internet is. And when I tell them that I get intermittent disruptions when traffic rolls down the street, they act like it's um, unheard of. When in actuality, I'm sure it's a very common sort of experience that they do not have the expertise to know about, and then therefore turn it on me to make me look like an idiot. That type of thing happens all over customer service in America. People are always big time fools talking about stuff they don't know and talking about how you are an idiot because because you want the products and service you pay for. Um, I'm not settling for that sort of attitude from the services I receive anymore, because living in fear is a sickness. And the more we are pushed into a corner so that we live in fear, the more we are going to destroy the existence we are intended to have. And the way I see the world today is probably not much different from the way that people who were quote unquote awakened uh, 50 years ago did. I mean, back in the 1970s, 50 years ago, I'm sure that there were the same things going on today, that are going on today, where technology is moving into new places and people are being left behind. And this ancient technology that I mentioned earlier, that's been around since before the Egyptians, that the news is calling Havana syndrome, has been around for a long time too. And as I mentioned, there's no reason to fear unless you're somebody who, uh, maybe is aware of this sort of thing that's orchestrating all of society and mankind. And um, some people would call that God. I think that God is bigger than that. I think that the thought that an influence that could
do the sort of thing that I'm insinuating Havana syndrome does, um, is God would be a falsehood that encloses us into the plot that the forces who create the Havana syndrome want. In the Holy Bible, it does tell us to test the spirits. It tells us to fight the principalities. Uh, and if we don't do that, we are all subject to the tyranny that they create. And there's just a couple other things I want to point out that I think is being abused today. If a person is to, um, you know, use their constitutional rights and protest, they should not disrupt society as what was happening and continues to happen today in ways that the news the and society seem to accept. And I'm talking about like those big movements that took place in the cities of the United States 5 years ago that are still big today, like the Black Lives Matter movement and the Pride movement and this big political push for socialism that outcasts um, the wealthy and elite. These aren't the answers to our problems. These are creating more problems because what these solutions present are are ways to overthrow the existing um, status quo, and and that's that's not where the problem comes from. The status quo isn't the problem. The status quo is what keeps everything in balance. The status quo is what makes it so that the rich can live as they do, and the people who are not wealthy can also live as they do. And it creates a sort of blanket of equality that exists over everything. That's what the status quo does. Um, the rich are going to have opportunities that people who aren't rich have. That's just the fact. That's just the fact. There's nothing that's going to change that. I mean, if the guy who owns Virgin Records wants to sell tickets to outer space, you're going to need $50,000 to go. At least right now, until times change. But when that happens, years from now, it's going to be because the status quo. The status quo right now is that it's a hell of a lot of expense to send someone to space, so it's going to cost you $50,000 as a passenger or whatever. But that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. The people who don't have that sort of money to do those sorts of things have absolutely no right whatsoever to cry about it. I mean, that's just like saying, hey, that guy was born into royalty and he lives in a really nice estate. Get him! That's the wrong attitude. That's people blaming other people for their problems. That's not that's not the natural world. And here on this website, Live Kindly, that I'm looking at, this is about the natural world. This is about being a vegan. And I don't agree with everything that they say on here. Um, but it's a good place to start if you care about the natural world and the order that things are done in, um, which don't require your understanding or my understanding. Which is why when the bus company tells me that they can't give me a ride because they don't want to come to Cissna Park because it's in the middle of nowhere, you know, I'm not gonna create a big fuss about it. Even though I know the only reason they don't want to come here is because it's in the middle of nowhere, and they've told me they don't like coming here. I think that there's a reason for that to happen. The last time it happened, they said, well, you can't get on the bus to go to where you want, but we can take you to where we're going, I decided I'd go for a ride. And that's when I happened upon a news station, and I went in there. I happened to have my hotspot with me, which is really cool. The cool thing about having one of these things is that you can bring it with you wherever you go. And so I walked into the radio station in this little town that I visited, and I played them some of my music that's on social media that I would need internet for, and um, and doing that was a result of not being able to do what I wanted to do. The bus company wouldn't take me where I wanted to go. They took me where they were going, and that was the result of what happened, which was then um, acquitted because the lady who listened to my song, after several minutes and looking at her phone, then looked up at me and asked if my music is about rape. She asked, "Is that song about rape?" And I think the only reason she asked that is because I'm blacklisted on social media, as far as I know. I don't really know the truth of it all, except that I know that nobody responds to my stuff and people treat me like I'm some kind of criminal on there. And I think it's because I voted for Donald Trump. I think it's because I told someone when they called me who was surveying me about my medical insurance that for about a year I went to therapy. So every week I went to a therapy session. The person on the phone asked me, "So how often do you attend, um, or how often do you use your medical insurance?" Is what they asked, and I said, "Well, I use it every week." I think that's when they said, "Wow, this guy is costing our country a lot of money, or our state a lot of money." Yeah, well, you know what? I'm the person who went into your classrooms every day and taught your children. And I was the one who they came to when they had problems, and I was the one who solved those problems for them. I'm the one who taught them to read and to respect each other and to learn about culture and to love one another because of diversity. You know what happened? I got fired. I got fired and accused of rape. I got fired and accused of hurting children. I got fired and accused of doing all kinds of criminal things that were never even investigated. Or maybe they were, and that's why I'm a subject to these black ops that I'm mentioning. You know who's in those classrooms now? Lesbians and gay men. Those are the people that are being used to replace people like me who love the color of someone's skin, regardless of what hue it may be in or what shade that it represents. I'm being replaced because I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight. What I care about is that you are being brought into the world's awareness in a way that makes you receive the love and affection of 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 life, because it doesn't need to be the other way. The other way, though, is how societies control you. When you step out of the the light of love and into fear and darkness, you are in their grasp, and it is up to us to live a lifestyle that is worthy of our calling. That's actually a Bible scripture. But if you're going to live in defiance of yourself, you're going to hurt yourself. If you are a person, you know what love is because you know what hate is. And if you are so obfuscated by lies and misrepresentation brought to you by the societies that we live in, you're going to lose touch with who you are. And you're going to find that you have become who they want you to be. And that is not God. God is not who they have made you into. You are made in the image of God. Therefore, you must not allow them to shape you. That's the problem. You see, we are vessels, and they will fill you with the shit that they put into every other asshole on earth. And it's up to you and me to clean ourselves and to be representatives of the the life that's inside of us. And I don't see very many people who are um, filled with love anymore. What I see are people who are filled with fear. And a website like this could help you refocus your thoughts and life onto a track that is going to head you in the right direction again, which is where I hope I'm heading. And well, I'm probably about 30 minutes into this now. Yeah, 26 minutes. I'm a little surprised that I went on as long as I did. I can probably keep going. Uh, I don't want to do that though because I'm already thinking that 26 minutes is quite long, and I'm not going to listen to this again because I don't think that I'd enjoy doing it. But but I'm going to post it anyway. And maybe my thoughts might inspire someone to, I don't know, to to live a lifestyle worthy of the calling that they've received.